Hello students, how are you? I hope you are well. Welcome to a new class. Today we are going to cover Unit 14, Lesson 3 from the Pupil's book, page 57, Exercise 2, and from the Activity book, page 54, Exercise 3. Before we start today's class, let's solve the homework from last time together. How many syllables are there in each word? So we are going to look at each word and count the syllables. We can count by clapping our hands. Let's start with the first one, pupil. Pupil. 2 syllables. Let's write them down together. 2 syllables. Pupil. Let's move to the next one. Computer. Computer. 3 syllables. Let's write them down together. Computer. Computer. 3 syllables. Let's move to the next one. Television. How many syllables are in this word? Television. 4 syllables. Good job. Let's write them down together. Television. 4 syllables. Well done. Now, let's read the outcomes for today's class. Today, we are going to pronounce learned English words correctly, use complete sentences in short, simple guided exchanges based on familiar situations. We're going to pronounce short, simple questions and statements with correct intonation patterns. And we are going to demonstrate understanding of short, simple reading material. Are you ready? Let's begin. Which is bigger, a city or a village? A city. Well done. So let's answer these questions together. Tell me about a village. Is it big? No, it isn't. A village is smaller than a city. So we are going to say, no, it isn't big. It isn't. It is smaller than a city. Now, let's read the second question. Tell me about a city. Is the city small? No, it isn't. A city isn't small. It is bigger than the village. So we are going to say also over here, no, it isn't. It is bigger than a village. So the village is the smallest, but the city is the biggest. Now let's open our Pupil's book on page 57, Exercise 2. Look and say, here we have 2 columns, and in each column there are pictures and phrases. As you can see, there is a cross or an X on top of the first column, and there is a tick on the second one. We are going to talk about our grandpa and grandma. what they didn't do when they were young, and what they did when they were young. And of course, we are going to use the past simple tense. Let me do the first one for you, and then we can do the rest together. For example, we are going to say for the first one, when Grandma and Grandpa were young, they didn't live in a city. So over here we are going to put didn't and then the verb as it is because we have a cross or an X. But they lived in a village. So we are going to use the verb in the past and add ed because it's affirmative or correct. Let's do the following ones together. We're going to do this sentence now. When my grandpa and grandma were young, they didn't watch DVDs. So watch becomes didn't watch. But they listened to the radio. So listen becomes listened. We add, of course, ed. Now, let's move to the third sentence. When Grandpa and Grandma were young, let's move to the didn't. They didn't use a computer, so use becomes didn't use. But they watched television, so watch becomes watched. We add, of course, ed. Now, if you want to write your answer as a paragraph, it's going to look like this. When Grandpa and Grandma were young, they didn't live in a city. They lived in a village. Now, when Grandpa and Grandma were young, they didn't watch DVDs. They listened to the radio. Remember, we are using the past simple tense. When Grandpa and Grandma were young, they didn't use a computer. They watched television. Well done. Now we want to create more sentences to talk about our grandparents. So we're going to start with the same thing. When Grandma and Grandpa were young, they didn't travel to school by car, for example. They walked to school. So if you look at these examples, long time ago, did they travel by car or walk? They, of course, walked to school and they didn't travel by car. So let's write down the answer. When, start, of course, with a capital letter. My grandparents, we can say. Were young. Comma, or you can say they didn't travel to school by car. Full stop. They, using the past tense, walked to school. Let's move to the next one. We have use computers and use books. When my grandparents were young, they didn't use computers. We're going to put an X on this one, but they used books. Well done. So, when my grandparents were young. They didn't use computers. What did they use? They used books. And a full stop at the end. Now, play computer games or play ball games. When my grandparents were young, they didn't play computer games. They played ball games. So we are going to say again, when my grandparents were young, comma, they didn't play computer games. Then you can put a full stop. They played because it's in the past. Ball games with a full stop. Now we're going to move to the activity book, page 54, exercise 3. Read and circle true or false. We are going to read this text together and then we are going to read the sentences. If the sentence is correct, we are going to circle true. If the sentence is incorrect or false, we are going to circle false. Let's read the sentences, then read the text together. 1. In the desert, people didn't live in houses. 2. The children listened to the radio. 3. They watched television. 4. The girls played with dolls. 5. They didn't go on holiday. Now, as we are reading the text together, I want you to find out if these sentences are true or false. Let's read the text together. In the past, some people didn't live in villages. They lived in the desert. They didn't live in houses in the desert. They lived in tents. They didn't have cars. They used camels to travel. In the past, people didn't have mobile phones or computers. They didn't go to sports centers and they didn't watch television or listen to the radio. They didn't go on holiday and their children didn't have bicycles and lots of toys. The girls played with dolls. They watched the stars and they talked. Did you find the answers if these sentences are true or false? Let's check out together and we are going to start with the first one. It's already done for us. In the desert, people didn't live in houses and it's already written here, so it is true. We are going to put a circle around true. Let's move to the second one. The children listened to the radio, but they told us that in the past they didn't listen to the radio. So is this sentence true or false? It's false. Good job. So we are going to circle false for number 2. Let's move to number 3. They watched television. Is this true? No, it isn't, because they didn't watch television. So we are also going to circle false for number 3. Sentence 4 says, the girls played with dolls. Is this true? Yes, it is. Good job. The girls played with dolls. So we are going to circle true. And number 5, they didn't go on holiday. Is this true? Yes, it is. Well done. So we are also going to circle true because it tells us in the text that they didn't go to holiday.